Good evening, it's Friday the 20th of June and here's what's making news around the world on World News Tonight. Strike decision. Trump to decide on possible military action against Iran within weeks amid rising tensions. Diplomatic talks. European foreign ministers convene in Geneva to revive nuclear negotiations with Iran amid regional unrest. Family tribute. Daughter honors dad at wedding with rare great-grandfather singing recording, creating emotional moment.
From Colombo, this is World News Tonight.
Good evening once again. Amid rising tensions in the Middle East, the White House says President Trump will decide within 2 weeks whether to strike Iran. Reports say he sees disabling key nuclear sites as necessary, though diplomacy remains a possible path forward.
Amid growing speculation over U.S. involvement in the ongoing Iran-Israel conflict, the White House says President Donald Trump will decide within the next 2 weeks whether his country will strike Iran.
Now, regarding the ongoing situation in Iran, I know there has been a lot of speculation amongst all of you in the media regarding the president's decision-making and whether or not the United States will be directly involved. In light of that news, I have a message directly from the president, and I quote, "Based on the fact that there's a substantial chance of negotiations that may or may not take place with Iran in the near future, I will make my decision whether or not to go within the next 2 weeks." That's a quote directly from the president for all of you today.
The White House spokesperson added that Trump is always interested in a diplomatic solution, calling him a peacemaker-in-chief, but noted that the U.S. leader is not afraid to use strength to achieve peace. Meanwhile, according to CBS News, citing multiple sources, President Trump believes it's necessary to destroy the Fordo nuclear site. The report says Trump had been briefed on both the risks and benefits of striking Iran's most secure nuclear site and found it necessary to disable it due to risks of weapons being produced in a relatively short period of time. Trump approved attack plans on Iran on Tuesday, but has not yet made the final decision to join the conflict with strikes. According to a Pentagon official, Trump held off on the decision to strike Iran in case Tehran decides to abandon its nuclear program.
European foreign ministers are meeting with Iran's top diplomat in Geneva to revive stalled nuclear talks. The E3 hopes to ease tensions after US-Iran negotiations collapsed and Israeli strikes escalated the crisis, raising fears of a broader regional conflict.
The foreign ministers of Britain, France and Germany, collectively known as the E3, are spearheading efforts to re-establish diplomatic engagement with Iran over its nuclear program. Their meeting with Iranian Deputy Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi in Geneva marks a crucial attempt to salvage what remains of the 2015 nuclear deal, following months of heightened tensions. The talks, backed by the European Union's foreign policy chief, come amid growing concern that diplomatic channels are narrowing as military rhetoric intensifies. This renewed push for diplomacy comes just days after Israel launched Operation Rising Lion on the 12th of June, targeting Iranian nuclear and missile facilities. The offensive led to the collapse of secretive US-Iran talks, which had been progressing slowly. According to the European diplomats, Iran was open to certain inspections and enrichment limitations, but the sudden Israeli operation upended negotiations and reignited fears of a direct confrontation. The E3, though not part of the US-Iran channel, has increasingly voiced concern over Washington's shifting strategy and the growing risks of miscalculation. In a rare diplomatic outreach, the E3 foreign ministers pressed Araghchi earlier this week to agree to face-to-face talks, emphasizing the need to avoid further escalation. Sources say the ministers are particularly wary of the US considering direct involvement in Israeli military actions, a move that could derail years of fragile diplomatic groundwork. Geneva, symbolic for hosting the original 2013 interim accord, was chosen deliberately in hopes of rekindling trust. As pressure mounts, the E3 sees this dialogue as a last-ditch effort to avoid open conflict and restore JCPOA frameworks.
Tensions flared in the Taiwan Strait after a British warship sailed through the waterway. China condemned the move as a provocation, while the UK insisted it was lawful. Taiwan has since increased surveillance amid rising military activity from Beijing.
China's foreign ministry sharply criticized the recent passage of the HMS Spey, a Royal Navy patrol vessel, through the Taiwan Strait, accusing the UK of using freedom of navigation as a cover for provocation. Beijing maintains that the strait falls under Chinese jurisdiction despite international consensus recognizing it as an open international water. The Chinese military echoed the foreign ministry's stance, calling the British operation a deliberate act to cause trouble during a sensitive period of heightened regional tension. Britain, however, defended the maneuver, stating that the HMS Spey was conducting a long-scheduled, lawful passage in accordance with international maritime law. Officials said the deployment was part of the Royal Navy's commitment to maintaining a free and open Indo-Pacific, a stance supported by the United States and its allies. The UK emphasized that its vessel stayed within internationally recognized norms and did not enter Chinese territorial waters, seeking to avoid direct confrontation. In response to the incident, Taiwan's President Lai Ching-te instructed military and security agencies to intensify intelligence gathering and monitoring of the surrounding region. China has conducted frequent military drills around the island, including large-scale war games that have drawn concern from Washington and Tokyo. Analysts warn that these increasingly routine Chinese exercises are shifting the region towards a more volatile status quo, as Western powers continue to assert navigation rights in contested waters.
Thailand's Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra faces calls to resign after a leaked phone call with Cambodia's Hun Sen stirred controversy. Critics accuse her of undermining national sovereignty, sparking protests and a coalition party's withdrawal, threatening her government's stability.
Thailand's prime minister is facing political backlash and calls for her resignation after a leaked phone call with Cambodia's former leader Hun Sen. Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra apologized publicly on Thursday after enraged nationalist critics accused her of undermining Thailand's sovereignty and military by trying to appease Cambodia. On Sunday, Paetongtarn spoke privately with Cambodia's Senate President Hun Sen about easing border restrictions following border clashes on May 28th that left a Cambodian soldier dead. In the 17-minute call, which was later posted online by Hun Sen after a shorter version was leaked, Paetongtarn referred to him as uncle and criticized the Thai army commander overseeing the border, calling him an opponent. A major coalition party withdrew support from her government, leaving it on the verge of collapse. Protesters gathered outside the government house in Bangkok on Friday, calling for her resignation.
Let's go in for a short commercial break. More world news coming right after this. Welcome back. The US is closely monitoring North Korea's recent artillery fire near Pyongyang, coordinating with South Korea to deter aggression. The White House warns that President Trump will not tolerate threats against American interests amid ongoing regional tensions.
North Korea fired around 10 artillery rounds towards the West Sea from near Pyongyang, raising concerns over increasing military provocations. This follows a series of missile tests that have alarmed both Seoul and Washington about potential instability of the Korean peninsula. The White House, through Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, stressed close cooperation with South Korea to deter threats and uphold a free and open Indo-Pacific. The alliance remains committed to regional security amid North Korea's aggressive actions. President Trump's administration has taken a firm stance, warning that threats against American interests will not be tolerated. This reflects a continued tough approach towards Pyongyang as diplomatic efforts remain stalled and tensions escalate.
In Australia, 15-year-old Emmanuel Casa tested age verification software being considered to restrict minors from social media. Some tools were so precise they estimated users' ages to the exact month, sparking debate over privacy, accuracy, and child safety online.
When 15-year-old Emmanuel Casa tested the age-checking software Australia might use to enforce a social media ban for minors, he got a glimpse into his future. 6 months from now, the system could ban him from social media, and he was shocked by how well it worked.
Some of them would be like pretty bang on, just like 14 years, and other ones would be like 16.087654, like a bunch of decimal numbers, but yeah.
From December, social media companies like Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok could face fines of more than $30 million if they don't take reasonable steps to block underage users in Australia. This is an effort by the government to protect younger users' mental and physical health. The platforms currently require users to be at least 13 to sign up. The country is now trialing a photo-based age-checking software to help enforce the new law. 14-year-old Charlie Price also participated in a trial that tested 4 software options with 60 peers, and his age was guessed correctly, but it wasn't foolproof.
Most of mine were accurate. I had a couple friends that one of them said that they were like 20-something, so a bit here and there, but mine were usually on point.
While Price says he wouldn't try to get around the ban, he thinks others might.
So when I got my age right, it would be pretty difficult to get around that. Like, if somehow I got my age wrong, then I could get through that. But if it doesn't get my age wrong, then I can't find a workaround by myself.
His experience highlights a key concern for child protection advocates, tech firms, and even trial organizers themselves. Even if software works in trials, young people may still find ways to bypass it in real life. Trial organizers, including Hammond, won't recommend specific products, but will present findings on June 20th and give a full report to the government by the end of July. This will help the country's e-safety commissioner advise ministers who want to reduce risks like cyberbullying and harmful online content.
SpaceX's Starship rocket suffered its second consecutive day of explosions during ground tests, marking the 4th failure this year. Despite setbacks, the company continues development aimed at advancing space travel and fulfilling ambitious goals for lunar and Mars missions.
Whoa! Whoa! For SpaceX, yet another spectacular setback. This one caught on camera by space enthusiasts in Texas.
Oh my God.
The uncrewed mega rocket exploding during a static rocket ground test. SpaceX described the explosion as a major anomaly while preparing for a test flight later this month. No injuries, though local residents posted on social media that the blast shook their homes. Standing nearly 400 feet tall, Starship is critical to NASA's hopes of returning humans to the moon and one day landing on Mars. But this is the 4th explosion so far this year.
There it is. Boom.
In January and March, the rocket came apart minutes after launch. In May, the upper stage made it to space, but then went into a spin, breaking apart over the Indian Ocean. While astronauts could one day fly on Starship, today's CEO Elon Musk made light of the explosion, posting on X, "Just a scratch." Musk has promised to increase the pace of launch attempts this year.
Each launch is about learning more and more about what's needed to make life multiplanetary.
Hurricane Eric struck southern Mexico, killing at least 2 people and causing widespread damage along the coast. In Oaxaca, 1 victim was electrocuted while clearing storm debris near power lines. The storm has since weakened into a low-pressure system.
A trail of debris where businesses and houses stood hours earlier. Residents of this village in Mexico's Oaxaca state assess the aftermath of Hurricane Eric and begin cleanup operations under heavy rainfall. Across Oaxaca and neighboring Guerrero state, similar scenes of fallen trees, residents wading through flooded streets and downed power lines being restored. Hurricane Eric slammed into southern Mexico's coastline on Thursday as a powerful Category 3 storm, but weakened as it moved inland. The hurricane caused landslides, blocked highways, damaged plantations, and left over 120,000 without power. Authorities warn of ongoing heavy rainfall as the storm continues to move up the country, with Guerrero State remaining on maximum alert. Its coastal town of Acapulco had been hit by a Category 5 hurricane just 2 years earlier. This time it was better prepared, with heavy presence of National Guard and police.
Time for a short break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. A woman uncovered a rare recording of her great-grandfather singing and preserved it for years. She chose a special moment to share the music during her father-daughter dance, creating a touching tribute that honored her family's musical legacy and history.
Tonight in Bowling Green, Kentucky, an incredible surprise, a gift from a daughter to her father on her wedding day. Reagan Miller walked down the aisle by her father, Dale. She would soon marry Alex Kearns, and afterward, the father-daughter dance. But what her father did not know is that she had gone through the old family videos they had.
Reagan, how old are you?
Finding home videos of the two of them together when she was a little girl.
Reagan! Say cheese!
And then, something long forgotten, something recorded more than 50 years ago. It was an old country song her family would sing together. She saved it for her wedding day, knowing she would be dancing with her father. And just listen as she plays the song. He had no idea that song was ever recorded. And that voice right there is her great-grandfather, Noble, her father's grandfather, singing. And then two more voices, his own mother, her grandmother, Lana, and then a very young voice, her own father as a toddler when he was 3 years old. He was singing too. This has been a family tradition for decades.
An 8-year-old girl in Denver bravely called 911 when her father, who has brain cancer, began shaking during a medical emergency. With her mother away, Adriana guided first responders to her conscious father, helping save his life.
This 8-year-old is cool as can be as she deals with a family crisis.
Something has happened to my dad, and I don't know what's happening.
Adriana Wales's father is having a seizure, and her mom isn't home. She calls 911.
What's going on with Dad right now?
I don't know. He has brain cancer, and he just started shaking, and I got really, really worried.
Adriana explains just what happened.
Me and my dad were just snuggling up on the couch together to watch some AFC, and then he just started shaking and stuff.
What is your name?
Adriana.
Adriana, how old are you?
I'm 8 years old.
Oh, you are amazing, Adriana.
But even amazing 8-year-olds get stumped sometimes.
Is he a diabetic?
What's a diabetic? Something happened to my dad.
Okay. And there's Adriana leading first responders into the home outside Denver. This is how they found her dad, John.
How are you? You okay?
Yes, sir. He's conscious as they put him on a gurney and rush him to the hospital. Adriana clutches her teddy bear as she walks off with a first responder. And here are daughter and dad today.
Whenever I'm scared, I kind of hold on to feel my heart, and it was going thump, 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 thump. Like, I was so scared. And I just figured out how to maintain myself.
John says Father's Day would have been very different if Adriana hadn't been there.
She was able to stay calm and stay poised in what I can only imagine was a very, very scary situation for an 8-year-old.
And with that, we come to the end of today's edition of World News Tonight. With the hopes of seeing you again, I'm Selena Jayathilaka, and we leave you tonight with the visuals of Juneteenth celebrations taking place in the streets of Los Angeles. Also, don't forget to send us your feedback through email at feedback.ad24english@derana.lk or via WhatsApp at 076-805-7933. Anuradha Vikramasinghe will be joining you next with the Nightly Business Report. Thank you for watching. Have a great night.